Hello and welcome to my latest video, and on this video, is the turn of Jack Blackburn, to join my retired playlist. He will go on my lightweight list. So let us go through the major opponents of Jack Blackburn. So when we look at the first slide, for his major opponents, we can see he mixed in really good company. And Jack Blackburn's one of those rare fighters who fought fighters pretty much from featherweight to heavyweight. I mean, he kind of fought almost everybody of everybody. Not so much the heavyweight thing, but fighters who would later fight at heavyweight, he also fought them. Incredible fighter who would fight fighters often outweighed by stupid amounts sometimes. So the first name on here, good morning Martin, good to see you buddy. The first name on here is Joe Gans. We start out with the old master himself. Jack Blackburn fought Gans 3 times, scoring 1 win with 2 losses and no draws. And he did fight a 5-fight series, should have had a win in there. He scored no win, 1 loss, 4 draw against Sam Langford. And he also fought once Mike Twin Sullivan, former welterweight champion, fighting to a draw. Another former welterweight champion and Hall of Famer, Harry Lewis, Jack Blackburn fought him on 1 occasion, gaining a win. And then he fights 2 all-time greats, The first is Philadelphia Jack O'Brien, who Blackburn loses to, and then he also fought the great Harry Greb himself, also suffering a defeat. Former coloured middleweight champion Eddie Palmer is next. Jack Blackburn loses to him, and then he also loses to Kid Norfolk, the light heavyweight and heavyweight contender, Hall of Famer, and former coloured light heavyweight champion. Next up is Panama Joe Gans, another former coloured middleweight champion. Jack Blackburn fought him, suffering a defeat. And then he 4 times, fought the loop puncher Dave Holly, another super tough contender of the time, a very multi-skilled fighter, could fight defensively, could fight offensively, excellent fighter he was, very tough fighter he was on his day as well. If you were fighting him, you were in for a hard night if he was on form. Jack Blackburn scored 2 wins, and suffered 1 defeat with 1 draw from his 4-fight series with Dave Holly. And he also beat the excellent Jimmy Gardner, former pound for pounder, in their singular fight. Next up is Jack Twin Sullivan. Jack Blackburn fought Sullivan to a draw, and then he twice fought lightweight contender Sam Boland. Jack Blackburn scoring 1 win, no loss, and 1 draw from those 2 fights. Next up, the Pennsylvania Terror. The former dangerous middleweight contender George Cole. Jack Blackburn fought George Cole 3 occasions, scoring 2 wins with 1 loss and no draw. And the final name on here is former middleweight contender Larry Temple. Jack Blackburn fought him on 2 occasions, fighting to 2 draws. Now, the first thing about Jack Blackburn is Jack Blackburn did outscore Langford in most of the rounds in that first fight. The fight was given as a draw. There was a controversy because the referee announced before last round that if there was no winner in sight distance, it'd be a draw, whereas Blackburn apparently claimed he'd been told before the fight the rounds would be scored. It's a bit of controversy around that fight. Blackburn, pretty much by everybody who saw that fight and reported on that fight, thought Blackburn won most of the rounds, but sadly didn't get the win. But he's certainly mixed in good company. Kid Norfolk, Dave Holly, even fighters like Jimmy Gardner, very tough contenders, former champions like Mike Twin Sullivan, coloured champions like Eddie Palmer, Kid Norfolk, Panama Joe Gans, just a whole array of top level fighters have fought, including those Hall of Famers, Jack O'Brien, Gans, Langford, Harry Lewis, Harry Greb, Kid Norfolk, etc. So a really, really tough slide there. So let us go on to his second slide. And we can see Jack Blackburn also fought Jim Barrett on 2 occasions, scoring 1 win and 1 loss. He also 4 times fought very capable middleweight contender Mike Donovan. Jack Blackburn went unbeaten against Mike Donovan, scoring 3 wins with no losses and 1 draw. And he also beat former contender and good contender Jack Bonner in their singular fight. Next name on here is another very good lightweight contender from the time, Steve Crosby, an old rival of Joe Gans, of course. Now, Blackburn fought Steve Crosby twice, scoring 1 win and getting 1 draw from those 2 fights. And he also fought Gumbo Smith, the heavyweight contender, suffering a defeat. Next name here is Jack McCarron. Jack Blackburn fought McCarron on 1 occasion, suffering a defeat. And he also twice fought the very experienced young Ahern. Jack Blackburn scored 1 win and 1 draw from those 2 fights. 3 times he also fought middleweight contender Joe Burrell. Jack Blackburn scored 1 win, 2 losses and no draws. And when you go through the resume You've seen lightweights and welterweights and middleweights and light heavyweights and heavyweights. And this is what I mean, okay, when people now talk about a guy who, say, moves from 118 to 135 and say, oh, he's fought across all these divisions. But when you actually look at the weight move, where Blackburn fought from pretty much featherweight early on in his career, low featherweight as well, you know, to eventually fight heavyweight contenders is not normal. You know, that weight jump in modern day boxing would be over 70 pounds. I mean, that is an incredible weight move. And he would often fight fighters who could outweigh him by 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds. And he would just fight them. You know, he didn't run away and say, oh, I need rehydration clauses, and oh, I need catch weights, and oh, I need this. A, because he couldn't because of the time, but B, he fought them anyway. He just fought them. So Jackie Clark, okay, is the next name on here. Jack Blackburn suffered a defeat, and then he scored singular wins over Eddie Kennedy and Eddie Haney. Next up is Terry Martin. Jack Blackburn fought him on 2 occasions, scoring 2 wins, and he also twice fought young Tommy Coleman, scoring 1 win, 1 loss with no draws. The final name on here is George Memsick, okay. Jack Blackburn fought him once, gaining a win. So, Jack Blackburn, okay, there's 52 fights highlighted there. Blackburn scored 22 wins with 17 losses and 13 draws. And, you know, that's kind of a mixed record, but he fought across so many weights, often outweighed by huge amounts. Sometimes he couldn't overcome that hurdle. Other times, that clever jab and those clever, sharp left hooks and his good defensive skills would enable him to gain wins over bigger fighters. But sometimes he couldn't beat the bigger fighters, you know, and that resulted, considering his overall opposition as well, in the kind of mixed looking record. So Jack Blackburn, okay, scored 22 wins, 17 losses, 13 draws from those 52 fights. Big shout out to Random in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. So on to the first of the stat slides. Blackburn scored 34 knockouts, 21 of them in 3 rounds or less, and 1 in the first round. Now he scored 0 KOs over champions, Hall of Famers and pound for pounders, and Blackburn, of course, scored 0 KOs over rated fighters. Now, in professional rounds experience, he fought just over 1,000 rounds at 1,062. He fought 0 title fight rounds, and he fought a total of 134 rounds against champions, 122 rounds against Hall of Famers, and 154 rounds against pound for pound fighters. Blackburn also fought 10 rounds against top 10 fighters and 10 rounds against top 3 fighters. He also fought 6 rounds against ring champions. So obviously those numbers would be way higher had the ratings been around his whole career. So on to his record against champions. Now he has a severe losing record against champions, again fighting them across all those weights, but he had total of 15 fights against champions, including 2 wins, 8 loss, 5 draw. The 2 individual champions he defeated, one was a lightweight, one was a welterweight, in Joe Gans and Harry Lewis, and he scored 0 knockouts over champions individually. And when we go on to the Hall of Fame record, we see Blackburn has 13 fights against Hall of Famers with a record of 2 wins, 6 losses and 5 draws. Obviously that is minus the defeats to fighters like Eddie Palmer, Panama, Joe Gans, who were not Hall of Famers but champions. So he beat the same 2 Hall of Famers, Joe Gans and Harry Lewis, and again scored 0 knockouts over individual Hall of Famers. And when we go on to his slide against pound for pounders, we see Blackburn had 17 fights with a more even record, okay, of 5 wins, 6 loss and 6 draw. Blackburn defeated 4 individual pound for pound fighters. They were Dave Holly, Joe Gans, Jimmy Gardner and Harry Lewis, but again he scored 0 knockouts over pound for pound fighters individually. And you know, Jack Johnson was not keen on Jack Blackburn. I read a story, the story's out there about the spar they had where Blackburn kept smacking Johnson with left jab and apparently busted his nose, and other people claim that's contentious and didn't happen, but certainly Jack Johnson was not keen on Jack Blackburn. So it is what it is. All those stories go around, you know, it's sometimes hard to nail them down. It was a very strange noise. So anyway, let us go on, okay, to record against rated opponents. Now Blackburn had 2 fights against top 10 fighters, obviously, most of his career pre-rating era. So that is 2 defeats. He also has 2 defeats from 2 fights against top 3 fighters and 1 defeat to a former ring champion. Now, he beat 0 individual rated fighters and scored knockouts over 0 individual rated fighters. And when we look at the title record slide for Blackburn, we see he had no world title fights, so his title record is 0s. Thus, he made no defences and scored no KOs. He also defeated no top 10, top 3 fighters or ring champions in title fights, and obviously 0s against champions, Hall of Famers and pound for pounders. So the final slide for Blackburn is the title winning slide. Okay, Jack Blackburn captured no world titles, therefore he was never lineal champion nor undisputed champion. But Blackburn was one of the formidable fighters of his time. Even you know, in his later career, he could still be dangerous. Even though Harry Greb overwhelmed him with bad just punches in that round, in a few of those rounds, Blackburn was snapping his head back with them snappy jabs and also catching him with those left hooks. He would, against Greb, he was blocking the shots using that clever elbow defence he used to use, using his elbows and forearms to block shots and then snapping out sharp left jab counters or sharp left hooks. Really, really clever fighter, really excellent fighter. And fighting all those guys across all the weights, you know, he built a massive amount of experience. So there's my latest video, Jack Blackburn. I'll now score him in my new growing top 1000 list. Big shout out to Martin and Random in the chat. Hope you guys are both well. And I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out for now.